Hello, everybody. Welcome back around for another episode of the Ups and Downs. I'm your host. Well, what's going on, everybody? You know what? It's been quite a long time since I've came back to do this, and I apologize. Life got unexplainably busy. Is it inexplainably? I think it's inexplainably. You know what? Whatever. I'm not even that good at English, anyways. Life got really busy, so I really have had absolutely no time to do this. But you know what? We're back for episode two, and very excited to get back on track from where I left off at the end of January. Um, and for good reason. You know what? That like 3 month height. What is this? This is April. This is February, March. We're in like the middle of April. The 2.5 month hiatus that I took, not by choice. It made for great points to talk about, which is actually sort of exactly what this episode is about. This episode, um, it's about just taking that leap of faith. What does that mean? That can mean a lot of things, actually. For me, I think taking that leap of faith was essentially just me getting comfortable with being able to explore what I was not accustomed to yet, and just being able to have new experiences and try new things. Because more often than not, like I feel like throughout my entire life, I've been pretty scared of everything. um, and I think partially that's because it's just the way that I was raised. Um, but also, I think it's just totally self-conscious. It's just like self-made. I think it's just my subconscious telling me, "Oh, don't do this, don't do that." And I used to listen to it a lot because I always prioritized my safety over experience. Not saying that I was trying to live like Larry or anything like that, but I really hope people get that reference. And if they don't, I'm gonna be a little sad. But it's okay. I think pretty recently I started to break out of my shell. I wouldn't say super recently. It's probably been like I don't know, 6 maybe 8 months. So I really had to learn to break out of my shell and just realize that it's okay if you fall, because you're learning, you're experiencing something new, and more often than not, those life experiences are they're pretty amazing. And I have a couple examples. I remember it was like what was it? It was like I want to say the end. Now it was like midway through August of 2025, and I think I was like mentally at a point where I told myself that I didn't really have anything to lose. I was kind of at a low point back in August, and and I thought of the incredible idea to build a suit of armor. I think I might have explained this in the first episode. Build a suit of armor out of foam, for my Halloween costume, based on the 2000 and what was it 2000 and I think it was 2008. The 2008 video game Halo 3 ODST. You can debate whether it's a DLC or if it's own standalone game. I would say that it's a standalone game. Some people would argue that it's really just a DLC, but I think I just love it so much that I automatically argue that it is its own game, which it probably is. But I wanted to build ODST armor, and I tried to look on all sorts of forums, like the 405th. I have yet to explore the 405th as deeply as I want to because I don't have time, but also I just don't have the resources to follow along with everybody who's on the 405th. Everybody on the 405th they're just incredible. The things that they create are astounding. They are just unprecedentedly. They are awesome. They are just absolutely awesome. Uh, Props to all those people who literally make entire like light rifles and incendiary cannons out of foam. Like those guys are absolute monsters. They are amazing. But anyways, so I wanted to build some ODST armor. If you don't know what ODST is, it stands for Orbital Drop Shock Troopers, which are a They are a part of the UNSC uh, from the Halo franchise, and they are so badass. They are so awesome, and they are so cool. And I think what makes ODSTs so not only so relatable but so unique is that they're not enhanced super soldier Spartans with titanium skeletons, and they're not 7 feet tall. I mean, they're just people. They're like you and me. I mean, they're not Marines. They're not standard Marines. I mean, they're the most highly trained, non-enhanced humans that the UNSC has to offer. But they are just the simple fact that they are put in the front lines, in the same like battlefield where like Spartans have to go and fight these giant hunters and the Sangheili and jackals, and they're out there just like as regular people. I mean, it's awesome. They're very cool. So that was what I was basing my armor off of. And I couldn't find, I could not find a tutorial for shit. I literally could not find anywhere to build this thing, and I was upset because I couldn't find until until I found this awesome guy on YouTube. I'll give him, I'll toss him out there. Andrew DFT. He's amazing. He's awesome. He is also extremely talented. He had a web series about how to build your own ODST armor. He made his own like PDF, like templates and all that I could download. So I was actually staying over at my sister's apartment, and we went to the Staples, not too far from her house, because she lives everywhere, like not like literally everywhere, but she just lives around everything. And yeah, I printed some papers, and I got to work, and I I started off really slow, like much slower than I probably wanted to. I think I finished the helmet in probably, because the helmet was the first part of the tutorial. So I think I finished the helmet in probably about 4 hours. I think I started, no, probably five. I think I was working on the helmet alone for 5 hours. I think I started at around 10 p.m. and I finished at about 3 in the morning. Just the helmet, by the way. That's if that doesn't tell you how slow and inexperienced I was at building, cosplays out of foam, then I don't know what is. But I was really, going back to the point of taking that leap of faith, finally, I was just really nervous, and I didn't know if I was like, I didn't know if I would be able to do it, but I was like, what do I have to lose exactly? And that is an extremely important key factor here, that phrase, what do I have to lose? So, just keep that in mind. But seriously, I asked myself, what do I have to lose? Like, I'm just here building a suit of armor out of foam, and I don't know if I'll get this done by Halloween, considering that it's already midway through August, and this is the first cosplay I'm ever going to build, and I only have like a month and a half. So I was really, really, what's the word? I was really, hyping myself up here, and I think I was underestimating how difficult it was going to be, because let me tell you, I did not do that entire project alone. I think I had to call on a few buddies to help me from time to time, because it was just insanely difficult. But I mean, overall, it wasn't like too bad. Like, I mean, I probably could have done the whole thing by myself, but I'm very glad that I didn't, because some parts, genuinely, I would have just cried, just trying to. I would have just cried trying to finish them. It was so bad. But like, needless to say, like around October, like I was, and it's not like I was doing this in private. Like I kind of wanted, to like track my progress. So like very often I would post about it on my Instagram, like my personal Instagram, and I would like showcase like each part that I was building, and I would put like Halo soundtracks that Instagram had available in the background, and like, excuse me, every single time that I would complete like a piece of armor, I would be so proud of myself, because I'm like, wow, like I did that. I mean, granted, I did it with a tutorial and a video on a giant TV screen, but like nonetheless, I did it. Like that's always an exciting thing to brag about, the fact that you're just able to, like, you're able to create things that you never thought you'd be able to make, and do things that you never thought in a million years you'd be able to do. Like, I telling you right now, creating a suit of armor from foam was not on my 2025 bingo card. I mean, to be fair, I don't think that I could have anticipated anything that happened in 2025, but here we are. So October rolled around, and I managed to finish it, and it was awesome. It was so cool. uh, it was. I painted it black, and I chose a red visor, and the visor was so not easy, because the guy was like, "Oh yeah, just take like what is it? Those he called them paper clear files. They're like those translucent like little paper like folder holder thingies." And like that was cool and all, but like you could see like right through it. Like you could see the face of the person wearing it. And with ODSTs, you're not supposed to see their faces typically. Um, so I was like, let me think outside the box. How do I make this better? So I feel like, I'm not even kidding. I feel like the amount of times that I had to improvise and like problem solve while building that costume kind of led me to gain a lot of valuable skills, like problem solving and improvising. So I think that I gained a lot of valuable skills from creating that thing. And I have to say it was really good because what was it? I ended up figuring out that I could take plexiglass, like like bendable, foldable sort of like plastic that was really hard, and I could cut it with like scissors or an X-Acto knife. Scissors worked way better than the box cutters or the X-Acto knife, just because I mean they just worked better. I'm not even like I can't even. There's no like real way to explain it. They just worked better. But I took plexiglass and I heated it up because it plexiglass is sensitive to heat, so I heated it up really hot with the heat gun that I had, and I bent it a little bit, not a lot, because I didn't want it to break, but I bent it, and then I cut out using like a one-way window like privacy screen thing, like paper, like filament, and I cut it in the shape of the visor and I pasted it. It was like it pasted like statically. So all I had to do was literally like take my hand and just wipe it across the plexiglass and it stuck. And it worked. And if you shine the light at the visor at like the perfect angle, you could not see into. I mean, you really can't see into it no matter which way you no matter which way you decide to like shine it. Goodness. I'm just so sorry. I don't know why I'm yawning so much. That's like the fifth time I've yawned in like this 13-minute recording so far. That's really, dude, my gosh. I'm just putting myself to sleep. Anyways, yeah, so I sort of had to like problem solve, and I found out a way to make that visor like a one-way sort of glass look, and it was really, really cool. And let me tell you, I ended up winning at my school. I ended up coming first place in the costume competition, and it was awesome. It was actually so fire. Um, so yeah, like there was that, and you know what? You know, I was unsure about if it was even worth it because there were a lot of times where I doubted myself. Like I remember, what was it? After I built the helmet, I think it took me like another 2 weeks to even gain the courage to go back to that project because I was so like, I don't know, I didn't have a lot of confidence in myself. I didn't have a lot of faith in myself. Um, Excuse me, let me take a sip of water real quick. Lovely. But yeah, I didn't really have a lot of confidence in myself to finish that project, but I don't know, that like something in my head just kept telling me it's worth it. It's going to be worth it. And it was absolutely worth it. So I'm very glad that I kind of went through with that. Um, but besides building armor and doing all this other stuff, uh, I think I have to say I think taking the biggest leap of faith came basically right after. It was like very close to around the time that I had just wrapped up my first episode actually. I was at the time, I was on a date with somebody, and I ended up getting an Instagram DM from one of the people who I went to school with, um, and his sister is she's a senior, uh, like me, and he's a junior. So I didn't really know him that well, but he texted me, and he said, "Hey, um, we're looking to fill a role or fill a spot in our musical, and your name was getting tossed around, and we thought that you might be a good fit. Um, so if you want, um, you could come on Wednesday. My director wants to meet you. We would really love to have you, but it's okay if you don't want to. Um, but like he said, we would love to have you." And I I was like, wow, that's okay. And the worst part is I didn't see that message, I think, until like a day or two after he sent it. Um, so I'm very glad that I ended up reading the message when I did, because I think if I had waited any longer, they might have moved on, and I probably would have been really, really, really disappointed now that I look back at it if I didn't read that message when I did. Um, but I remember replying to him. And I was like, yeah, like that sounds cool and all. Um, I'm not opposed to it, but I don't really have a lot of like acting experience. Like I've never done theater before. Um, and I think I think he wrote a message and then either unsent it or deleted it, because I remember like reading the first half of it, and then when I went back to read it again, it was gone and it was replaced with a different message. He said, actually, on second thought, change it to this date, blah 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 blah. I'm like, okay, cool. So I was like, you know what, sure, why not? I'll show up. And he's like, okay, sounds great. So I went. I actually had a job interview the same day, and so I went, and it was right after the job interview, and I showed up. And funny enough, I actually ended up getting there at like the same time as the director. Like I didn't even know that she was the director. I just remember like getting out of my car, walking up to the school, and I remember seeing this. I remember seeing this woman in like a bright pink outfit, and I had no idea. Like I didn't know who she was. I didn't know what she was there for. Um, but I walked in and I ended up walking towards the auditorium like right in after her, and I met the guy, and lovely lovely kid. He's incredible, and he's like, oh, I'm so glad you can make it, and I walked in there. I walked into the auditorium, and I remember like just seeing like a bunch of like my classmates. I was like, oh, this is a little awkward. um, but you know what? I didn't think anything of it. So I sat down. I met with the director, and she is a lovely, lovely lady. She is amazing. Um, and I sat down with her, and she told me what the role was for. We were actually doing um, the high school at the time. We were doing the jeez, I'm blanking. We were doing Mean Girls. It was the musical for Mean Girls, and they were really really in a tight spot because they had been in production for like probably 2 months, I would assume, at that time, and um, they ended up losing their Aaron. They lost their Aaron Samuels, so so they were like searching and crossing off all these different names of people who might have been able to fill the role, and they landed on me as one of the candidates. So I ended up going in for it, and I met with her, and she asked me, oh, can you sing? So I was like, yeah, probably. So I ended up showing her like a little recording. I think I was covering what was it? I think I was covering TBH by Party Next Door or something like that. And she's like, oh yeah, you could sing. So she's like, this is what the role is. This is what you're gonna have to do. She's like, you don't have to say yes or anything like that, but you seem like a good fit. So if you want it, take some time to think about it and let me know. I was like, oh, okay. She's like, you can leave now if you want. You don't have to stay, or you can stay and watch. What we're doing here. So I was like, oh, I don't mind staying. And funny enough, I was watching. I was scrolling on my phone, watching the rehearsal play out, and it actually came to a point where one of the scenes that they were doing actually required Aaron to be a part of the scene. So, when you're in theater, they don't really call you by your actual name. They call you by your character's name or your stage name. So she was like, Aaron, do you want to come up and help us out? I was like, oh, yeah, yes, sure, I guess, sure. Like I was so nervous because I had never like acted before, nothing. Uh, Considering, too, it was my senior year. Typically people who do theater, they start theater freshman year, sophomore year. They don't really wait until they're almost 18 years old, about to graduate, to just randomly join theater one day. So I went up there and I got handed a script, and I started reading, from the script, like doing my little bit that I was supposed to do. And I remember her telling me when I got up there, she was like, "Wow, that was good." She was like, "You're very natural and you seemed comfortable there." I was like, "Thanks." um, and I took some time to think about it, but like something about being there, it felt very natural, and it felt very what was the word? At home, if you will. Um, so I think I told Ryan, that was his name, um, the one who he texted me about the role. I told Ryan, lovely kid, that that I think I was gonna do it, and I think I'm pretty sure I told him in person. Pretty sure I told him in person. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure at that point we were already in the. I think we were already in the second semester, so I had class with him, and I told him, I was like, "Yeah, I think I'm gonna join." So he's like, "Oh yeah, so our next rehearsal is it's around this time." So I was like, "Oh okay." So I showed up, and I told our director, I was like, "Hey, I think I'm gonna take you up on the offer to join the musical." And she's like, "Oh, wonderful." So she gave me a full rundown of like everything that I had to do, and she's like, "You're not gonna be like in the show every second of the time." She's like, Aaron doesn't have like a whole bunch of lines. She's like, you're present throughout the show, but you're not there, all the time." She's like, "It's really not that many lines." She's like, "It might look like a lot, but trust me, when you look at it, it won't be too much to deal with." I was like, "Okay, it doesn't sound too bad." Um, so I yeah, I started showing up to all these rehearsals that we were doing, and I day by day, every time I showed up, I met more and more people, and I created stronger and stronger bonds, and I made more memories, and I got to express a side of myself that I really never got to show anybody, for quite a long time. I think the last time I decided to do any sort of performance, if you will, was like elementary school, like during our talent show. Um, so I was, I was very happy that I made the conscious decision to join theater and to join our Mean Girls musical, because I had so much fun and I met so many incredible people. Like I don't think that there was a single person in that room, in that auditorium, that I did not love spending every moment with. Um, like they were all so welcoming and so kind and so helpful, and uh, they always encouraged me, and we always encouraged each other to do our best, and we never put each other down. Even like even stage crew, I mean, stage crew, they are just a phenomenal group of people. um, and I'm kicking myself now because I remember for 3 years of my life, for 3 years in high school, I did sports because I always felt that I always felt that sports was my calling because I was a fan of baseball, so I was like, oh, well, if I like baseball, I played it for the town. I did like the Babe Ruth League of baseball. So it was like, yeah, you might as well do it in high school. And I did. And don't get me wrong, I love baseball. Like, I cannot even begin to explain to you how incredible doing baseball for 3 years was, especially my sophomore season. It was weird. It was very weird. It was, excuse me. It was strange because I wasn't technically a player. I was a manager for that team. It was more so, it was kind of it was along the lines of like, well, you're not good enough to play, but we'll give you this managerial promotion if you want to take it. Um, and naturally, I said yes because I didn't want to lose. I didn't want to lose, the moment or the chance to spend time with the guys that were on the team because I loved all of them a lot. Um, and I had so much fun with them. And I'm so glad that I decided to take that leap of faith. Funny enough, and be a manager because even though I didn't get to go on the field and play those games with them, I got to practice with them. That was like one of the benefits of being a manager was that I still was able to improve my skills and practice with the team. I was able to go to and do practices with them. But mainly as a manager, my job and you know it was really just about being sort of like the right hand guy for the head coach and being able to fetch equipment and help out with with our guys with their reps and our training and whatnot, our conditioning. And I had a lot of fun, and part of me sort of grew a sense of leadership. I felt kind of like a leader because when you spend so much time around the coach, not necessarily the players, yes, but when you're spending a lot of your time, especially around the coach in the dugout, just observing the game, you start to notice things that naturally other people would not notice, like, oh, positioning. Oh, is my right fielder too close to the line? Is he hugging the line too much for the play that we're trying to go for? Or is he one or two steps too far off the bag? Is there a chance that he could get nabbed at first base? Like, you tend to pick up a lot on those things, especially considering the fact that I was in the dugout most of the game, just writing writing down our play-by-plays and the score and keeping track of how many pitches our pitchers were throwing and whatnot, and giving them their bats and their equipment and giving them reps. But if for those 3 years of high school, I played baseball. And I don't really tell a lot of people this, but I really did want to join theater. I really did. And it kind of hurts a little bit because coming into high school, I always felt like I had to be someone else. Uh, I kind of felt like I had to kind of wear a mask and, kind of hide my identity a little bit because I was somebody who feared judgment. Um, I was always somebody who was scared of being judged by others, and I was always afraid of being picked on because needless to say, I was a pretty fragile child emotionally. I was very fragile. So I never really stepped out of my comfort zone a lot. I think joining the baseball team was as far as I went in terms of stepping out of my comfort zone because even then I was already accustomed to being a part of a baseball team. So it really wasn't that bad for me. But I do remember freshman, especially sophomore year. I think sophomore year was like the closest I ever got to auditioning for theater. But I remember freshman year seeing the musicals and the plays that they had going on. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. I was like, what if I did theater? Maybe I'll do theater. And then sophomore year came around, and I was like, oh, I really like what they have going on here. I kind of want to do this. And the one thing that held me back every single time was my fear of being judged and my fear of failure. Um, More often than not, I was so scared of failing, so scared of messing up. Like, I always felt like I had to be perfect. And I think that's probably my biggest flaw is that always have this desire to be damn near perfect in every single thing that I decide to do with myself. And I think like because of the desire to be perfect, I lose that drive and I lose that sense of freedom in the things that I like to do. So I never really got around to building up the courage to audition for any role that that was open for anyone, for anything that I could have been a part of. And I'm kicking myself for that now, because after spending, what was it? We started like, I don't know. I joined like what, the end of January, so like from the very end of January to all the way to like the end of March. That was, I mean, it was incredible. And I would give so much to do it all over again, because I wish I could have done it earlier, because I wish I could have had more experiences like that. I wish I could have met more people and created more amazing relationships with everybody, because I really loved, I just loved being there. I loved walking into the auditorium and saying hello to everybody and having conversations with people I barely knew, and just being able to get to know them and creating little inside jokes like "see you in calc." So stupid. But I loved every moment of it, and I loved being able to just connect with people, and I felt like I had a purpose. I felt like like I was there to create something awesome, and that's exactly what we did. We created something that was absolutely awesome, and it was so fun, and we just had so much creative freedom, and we just, I mean, there were some rocky moments, I'll say that much. But nonetheless, it was enjoyable. I think every aspect of it was enjoyable, and like I said, I would give so 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 much to do it all over again. Um, and I think taking that leap of faith into something that I had never done before, taking on something that I didn't even know I was going, like, if I was going to succeed in or be good at, I think taking that leap of faith was probably one of the most important things that I have ever done, because it taught me to not be afraid of the unknown. It taught me to not be afraid of of opportunities. It told me to not be afraid of taking that chance, reaching out for that hand, not knowing where you're gonna go next. And and now, like, I feel so, like, I have so much confidence in myself to try new things, and I have so much confidence in myself to create, just to get out there and be myself, and not be so afraid of being judged by other people. And I think that is probably the most important thing that being a part of my high school's drama club has taught me, that it is perfectly okay to step out of your comfort zone, because it teaches you a lot. And let me tell you, it taught me probably more than I asked for. But every lesson is just as valuable as any lesson you will ever learn in your entire life. So you might as well just take it with a grain of salt, right? Um, but yeah, it's funny actually. I remember it was the Sunday show. That was the we had a show at 2 p.m. on Sunday. It was um, three shows. Friday and Saturday were at 7, and our last show Sunday was 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And I remember after our Sunday show, I was so, I was happy, because that was like our best show that we had done out of the three. Saturday was a mess, and Friday was decent, but Sunday was easily our best show. And I remember walking out of the auditorium after the show was over. We did our final bows and whatnot, and our little "I'd rather be me" little dance number at the very end. And I remember walking out of there. I took my microphone off for the last time, and I walked into the gym, or not the gym. I walked into the cafeteria, and I was standing by my bin, and everybody was crying, and rightfully so. They've been doing theater for so many years. It's natural to be emotional about something that you hold so close to you. But what I found interesting was I started crying a little bit, and I really could not explain or tell you why. And I think, you know what, it's right here, as a matter of fact. Hold on. I think one of the biggest reasons why I cried, like literally at all, was there was this there's this girl and that I ended up doing the show with, and she's so sweet. She's such a sweetheart. Excuse me. And she ended up writing me a little note card, and it said my name on it, and she told me, "Do not open this until the show is over." And I remember, and I remember reading it, and I literally I wanted to cry, and I did cry. I teared up a little bit. I think I probably had like maybe one or two tears streaming down my face. It says, "To Joelle, I'm so glad you decided to be our Aaron. We quite literally would not have had a show without you. You're always making us laugh and embracing the silly. I can't believe you have to wear a lion costume." That is true. I did have to wear a lion costume. But seriously, you're a lovely person, and you made this show 10 times better. I hope the rest of your senior year is super epic, and I know you're going to do great things after. Keep on being you, and live it up. And I remember I had finished reading that, and I started crying a little bit. uh, because it was weird being so emotional about something that was so like don't get me wrong, I absolutely loved being a part of the show, but it almost felt too quick for like it felt like I wasn't deserving to be so emotional about something that I did not like. I wasn't there for all of it. Like I wasn't there for four, five, six, different kinds of shows that, the school ended up putting on. I was there for one, and even then I was there for what? Not even the entire production time. I was there for a month and like probably less than 2 months, and like probably just about 2 months actually. And even in that time frame, I I just got so emotional, and I really couldn't tell you why. But if I tried to explain to you, it would probably be that I don't think I've ever felt so at home. And I said that earlier. I mean, I'm so serious. I don't think I've ever felt so at home and and so welcome than I did doing theater with everybody. And because it really did feel like home for me. Like, like I said, joining the baseball team and being a part of that was cool, and making friends and memories on the baseball team was wonderful. But if I'm being so completely honest, I would say that that small short period of theater, the one show that I did throughout my 4 years of high school, that easily rivals my sophomore year of baseball, which I was there for 4 months. I was doing that for like 3 months, literally. We ended up winning our championship that year, and then we came second place in states, and that was an absolutely unforgettable baseball season that I had as a manager, not even as a player, as a manager. And to say that my first and last time doing theater in high school easily rivaled that year, my sophomore year in baseball, I mean, that just speaks volumes to how important that was to me. I mean, I can't even express how like just how insane the emotions flowing through my brain were when we were on stage for the first time, like opening night, And I remember I was so scared and I was so nervous to be on stage for the first time. And I remember closing my eyes and I took a deep breath and I was like, you can do this. And I got on stage and it was like the first scene that I did with as Aaron, that I did with Katie. Um, and I just tried to be as natural and as professional as I could, and I walked off stage and I was like, hey, this actually it's not so bad. And and we did that. We did the rest of the show, and I felt great. And then we did it for two more shows, and I was like, oh man, I was like, it's over. And I think that's also I think that's also why it just seemed so just intense, like emotionally. I think that's why it seems so intense. We practice. Well, they practiced longer than I did, but at least from my perspective, we were practicing. Um, we were practicing for like a month and a half, of almost 2 months, and all that rehearsing for three shows, and then it's over. And I just, I don't know, I couldn't believe it. It's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy. But like I said, I would give anything. I would give anything to do it all over again. So, I think that I think that perfectly encapsulates the the message of to take that leap of faith. Because I think theater was probably one of the biggest leaps of faith that I've ever taken in my entire life. Just because I really was stepping into something that I had no clue about. I didn't know if I was going to be good at it. I didn't know if I was going to like it. I didn't even know if I was going to be welcome. But I was taken in with open arms, and I was really happy about that. Uh, so I think theater was probably the most worthwhile leap of faith that I've ever taken. And if that tells you anything, it is to not be afraid to jump. It is, don't be afraid to jump and fall into the water. Don't be afraid to panic a little bit, because eventually you will learn how to swim. You will learn how to do it all on your own. And even if you can't do it on your own, there's people who can help you. So, yeah, I think that's probably the message for the day. I think that's the perfect encapsulation, ladies and gentlemen, about what the leap of faith entails. So, yeah, so don't be afraid to try new things. Don't be afraid to make new bonds, to have new relationships with people, because that's what life is all about. That's exactly what life is all about. That's what you're meant to do. You're just meant to explore. You're meant to feel in the moment. And that's what I did. And that's what all of us are meant to do. That's what I'm meant to do. That's what you're meant to do. That's what we are all meant to do, is just live in the moment and live for what is. Because honestly, I think we spend too much time, excuse me, we spend too much time, living in the future and, dwelling on the past. And I mean, I'm not saying that it's like bad to think ahead. I'm not saying that it's bad to like look back and reminisce either, but like people are always so caught up in, oh, like what's going to happen next? Like if I jump, what's coming after? Or they're looking at the past and like, oh, well, I jumped before and it didn't end well. People, they don't really consider what's happening right now. People forget to live in the present, and that is about the only place you should be living in, because it is the only place you can live in, is the present. So instead of thinking about what happens after you jump, and instead of thinking about what might happen because you jumped before and it didn't go the way you wanted it to, you just have to trust. You got to trust yourself, and you have to trust, you got to trust your gut. That's kind of how it works. That's what I did. When I accepted Ryan's offer, I was really just trusting my gut. I didn't even know if it was a good idea, but I did it, and it was worth it. Um, so trust your gut and live in the present. Please, 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 please live in the present. Um, because we don't have time to live in the future, and we don't have time to live in the past either. And we also don't have time to live for other people. Your decisions are your own. Um, and you shouldn't be basing your decisions off of somebody else's desires or dreams. So, yeah, I think that'll wrap it up for today's episode. Um, I hope that I was able to deliver some incredible, worthwhile, magical, amazing advice to all of you, and I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I enjoyed making it. For any of my theater pals out there, I love you guys. You guys are great. Um, so yeah. Anyways, I am your host Joel. This has been the ups and downs. Love all of you. Have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful life. And I will see all of you in the next episode.